better, like a level of better that you understand why Marlon took that approach, given how bad of a taste Chris Rock has left in so many people's mouths. Like he's basically like now he's paying the piper for like years of other people's resentment. Because it's like, yeah, he
I
has
wish
like
I would have watched it then. Now I feel like unprepared for the conversation.
no. I'll talk about it because like I already went live and I'll talk about it.
And like I said, I have seen just some of this in person.
Yeah. You've seen some of the material. Like, what did you see at Fest?
I kind of can't to be honest, I can't remember,
Mhm.
but I know it's like kind of like his explanation of what Chris's response and what Chris should have done kind of thing is what he was talking about. Like
Yeah, he had a bit on that.
it was something like that. I think he did that part of it.
Yeah, he did that bit, and he worked up to that so well, so well. Like, I'm not gonna spoil any of the jokes for you because I really need
Yeah.
you to see
That's
this.
that's what I mean. I'm like, damn.
But that of the all right, so let's talk about the slap because the slap came back up in the news. I don't think we were video potting when the slap happened. So
Nah.
it's like worth talking about generally. Like I want to get your impressions of it just as an event, as like a thing that happened, where you were you watching real time, how you found out about it.
So I think Irva is the first person who sent it to me. A friend from high school
Right.
sent it to me, and my first reaction, I was like, yo, that CGI was crazy.
Yeah.
Or
Like
like, or not,
that's a wild skit they just did.
or exactly. I was like, that's a wild skit. And then I saw it from a couple people, but hers was like the one that was like, nah, that shit just. Oh, and then I heard the screaming. The
Wait,
scream.
so what was the scream like from the audience?
Nah, the yeah. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. You know what I mean?
Yo,
That's what
because
you
it's like, oh, he's not mic'd up. He wasn't mic'd up. Like that's him screaming, so Mike's is catching him. But Will Smith ain't mic'd in that moment.
nah, he was barking. He was barking that at Chris. And
Keep my wife.
after
Right.
slapping him in the face publicly. Um, I don't know. All right, here's the I'm not. I won't do it. I won't spoil it. Man, I'll be real. So some of what Chris said, although he spoke about it in a very like he made it too personal without enough information to it's like he made it all about what's that kid's name? Lou Alcindor. What's his name?
Wait. Lou Alcindor, August Alsina. He said Lou Alcindor. Yes. No, that's right.
He made it all about August Alsina, and it's like, listen, stress is cumulative for sure, and it seems
Mhm.
like Will was having a stressful year, and that
Yes.
was something that he had shown had caused him stress at some point.
Right.
Um, but it's just like you're not qualified to speak on that. That's not the best. Here's the thing: when you're writing jokes, you know that you're a tactician. That's not the best route. You're trying to get people to come to conclusions. That's not the best route to get me to come to the same conclusion as you there. You don't whatever, not my nigga with that. Whatever with that. You know what I'm saying? We all that's the thing that's well worn territory. The place that where it was more personal is where it was more meaningful. And it or some you could have just kept it at that's not about me, bro. He didn't.
You could have said that.
Not reasonable. That's not a reasonable reaction to my joke, even if you really don't like my joke.
Right.
Even if you don't like my joke and you thought it was intentional, that's still not a reasonable reaction. It's just not.
Yes.
It's wild out. It's wild out to do, period. Much yet to do on TV. And it's not the politics thing. No, that's wild out. That's overreacting.
Yeah, it's overreacting, period.
And then you didn't. I know you're aware that there are cameras here. You didn't forget about the cameras. Yeah. Will Smith did not forget about
Will Smith has never forgotten about the presence of the camera.
So that in the fact that that's intentional, my nigga, that's, and I get that that's why a lot of people that's the part of it that would have made me hit him back. Because that's the part. Like, now my nigga, oh, word. Then it's like, no, actually, it's about to get sloppy. For me, whoever I would be, if it's my brand is gonna sustain that. My brand is gonna sustain. I don't know how it's gonna look for you, especially if I give you some licks too. Especially if I give your ass licks after that. I know you, Chris. I know you, Will Smith, and all that. But nigga, you're not.
If I catch you with a couple,
you're not a professional.
Yes. So as Chris Rock, even if you catch him with a couple and you get your ass beat, but if you caught Will Smith with a couple, that's better. That's better overall.
That's better. All I'm trying to do is not even that. Just let me get to your hand. Let me get that. I'm gonna turn that wrist over real quick. Are you gonna leave with a broken wrist, my nigga? You gonna have a broken wrist, my nigga, for real.
Okay, so
for real. When you go to your next movie,
you understand
the back, dog.
Listen, you understand the premise of the real nigga shit that Marlon Wayans was on for his special, because he was on real nigga shit. He was on real nigga time. And he was like, nah, we ain't doing none of this. Like, we're Hollywood friends. Like, now that's done. There's no possibility of that. Cut. There's no PR. There's no release that's going to make this another way. It's just, I got to beat your ass now. Now I got to beat your ass. And I don't know whether I can, but that's not important. It's like, I got to beat your ass now. And
it's on the principalities, principalities.
Yeah, it's the principalities. Yeah.
Now I have to say this.
Yeah.
I have to say this.
Yeah.
What was interesting though is to watch white people, as a result, treat Will Smith like he was Diet O.J. Simpson.
Listen, Marlon addresses that. Listen, like Marlon addresses it, dog. Like, because here's the thing, like. And I'm gonna ask you this honestly. I'm gonna do a list of names, right? And they're gonna be some very, very famous black people, And I'm gonna ask you, when I list that name, how much black people fuck with that person.
Cool.
Right? All right. So and then, I think that'll demonstrate something. So Denzel Washington.
He fucks with Denzel.
Heavy.
For real.
He fucks with him the long way. Long way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna give you another black person, right? I gotta be careful with this one. Okay. Kerry Washington.
We fucks with her.
We fuck her, right? Like,
we claim her. We
claim her, right? Right. Absolutely.
And there's range of fucks with her.
Yeah, there's ranges of that. Now I'm gonna give you one. Oprah Winfrey.
We fucks with Oprah. We fucks with Oprah though. Ultimately, we fucks with Oprah.
I think ultimately we do. But I'm starting to demonstrate something with the spectrum of how we fucks with people.
It's getting we fucks with Oprah, but we also know that she is Jeff Bezos. She is Jeff Bezos.
And we also know that, like, maybe she don't fuck with us. But we fucks with her. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. Now I would say this. Oprah does enough where She just does it where she's comfortable. But that's everything with Oprah. Oprah is selfish, yeah, but she's not this. She's not disconnected from what's important to her, and some of that still is Black female identity.
Yeah.
It's Black female identity for sure.
That's
So
real.
it's like,
That's real.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You just do what you want to do.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real. Because she still makes space for that. She's still.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that shit is valid. You got a whole book club and shit. You know what I'm saying? You publish your book, all that. So it's like, all right, yeah.
All right. So now I'm gonna get to the nitty gritty. All right. Will Smith.
I mean,
Yeah.
we fuck with Will Smith, but what is it? Will Smith. All right.
Do we fuss with him the long way?
No. Will Smith is a funny style nigga. But he's a funny style nigga. And for all and that, listen, I don't want to get too because for lots of good and bad reasons. But he is a funny style nigga.
He is funny style. He is Hollywood. He is Scientology. He is those things. Those things that we associate with, like, oh, that's them Hollywood niggas.
Yeah, this nigga.
We don't think about Denzel that way. No. We don't look at Denzel and go, "Oh yeah, he got weird."
Extra. He's an extra.
He's not extra, but he's your extra uncle.
Al Pacino.
Exactly. He's your extra uncle. Like you could still
exactly.
Remember that
100%. You proud of that?
When Denzel had showed up to somebody Thanksgiving, it was like an older Black woman and shit. It's like
he was in his old neighborhood.
And here's the thing: if Denzel showed up at your Thanksgiving or my Thanksgiving, we'd be able to rock with him.
We were excited as hell.
Yeah,
excited
because you know he's gonna have some yak.
If Will Smith shows up, all right. Here's the thing. I'm excited, but I'm waiting for him to go home too. You know what I mean? Like, when is this nigga gonna go home?
Yeah, no.
Because he might get too comfortable, and I don't want that.
I might even say that I would fucks with The Rock showing up for Thanksgiving more than Will Smith showing up.
Because I feel like The Rock is just going to keep it simple. He's just
yeah. He's not going to be all awesome, like, no cap. You're like
Hollywood shit. He's not going to perform for me. He's not. But Will Smith is still going to perform for me.
Exactly.
He is. He's going to perform for my family. Not me, but my family, a Black family.
Of course he will. All right, so I'm going to throw out another name relevant. How much do Black people fucks with Chris Rock? Chris Rock. Now I'm not talking about the work.
A little bit. Only a little bit. Only a little bit. Especially when social media recently showed more Black people than who would have seen it. Him let Louis get away with saying the word nigga.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was not good for the brand, baby. That was not good for the brand, baby.
Hey, yo, I'm the first to concede that Chris Rock has some classic jokes that are on race. Chris Rock has some classic material that is squarely for us. Like I would say, Everybody Hates Chris is the most underrated sitcom probably ever, and it is for us. It happened to be on national television, but that is for Black people. Like in syndication, it's gotten only more popular. It is a great show, a great premise. The Rock is literally using the same format for his show right now. Like it's basically like Everybody Hates the Rock. It's the same format, like not even a small difference. Just copy paste, like same shit. And his contribution in that way, and even in terms of Pootie Tang, like he's got some shit that he made for us.
By season 3 of the Chris Rock show as well, that is a extremely underrated skit show. They have amazing sketches on there.
Yeah.
Which is also something that people don't understand, which is I don't even want to derail things getting into that. But we don't like Chris. Because okay, even when we fucked with Chris, here's the thing: at the height of our fucking with Chris, real niggas treated Chris like he was corny. He might be funny, but
He's
he's still
funny, but
corny.
he's still corny. And
It's
here's the thing.
all in your face with this repeating the same thing. Repeat the same thing. Women be shopping. Women be shopping. Right? But it's funny. It is funny. But
It is funny, but it's also just like, niggas, what is he doing?
That fetish. You
All right. It's not that bad. Oh shit. Okay, so here's the thing about Chris, man. The other thing I've heard both recently, and I know enough people who've had encounters with him, is that he's kind of a dick. Like kind of a dickin' person, right? Like kind of a removed, aloof type of person. Now, I don't know how people handle fame. Everybody handles fame differently, right?
Guess what, Andrew? I'm not shocked by that.
Not for a second. Not for a motherfucking second, right? Like, but it's like it begs the question, because I feel like you and I may differ on this in terms of Chappelle and how black people fucks with him and whether black people fucks with him the long way or not. And how then a public moment of you drawing on the black experience is going to hit. So either a public moment of you're drawing on the black experience for your comedy, how that's going to hit, or a public moment between two black people where we all know what the subtext of you getting slapped in your motherfucking jaw looks like, how that looks to us is different than how it looks to them. And we know when you're playing to them. We know that. So is your taking that slap playing to us or to them?
To them, 100%. He said it. He literally, and here's the thing. He ended his special literally on those words. Those were the last words he thought he needed to say.
Ooh, man. He was like, I'm still okay, white people.
I want my check, Ted. Let me get my check, Ted Sarandon, sir. Like, you know what I mean? I know who's butter my bread.
And what's crazy is like, there's now more people. I'm gonna bring up a sports example. There's now more figures in public and major media who are black, who trade on black cadence, black English, AAVE, black slang, and who are anti-black in their interests post-Obama than there ever were before. And I think Obama was a great person to first get into the public sphere. Like, I will code switch in a way that black people fuck with. And I'm gonna keep doing it in a way that black people fuck with, and I'm gonna still stay safe with white people.
Right? That's what Martin Luther King was doing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like but then eventually niggas start going, nah, we don't want to see you crossover. Fuck that crossover. Take it to the hole. You take it. It's like LeBron. This nigga can't. This nigga. It's the Dallas era where it's like this nigga don't got no post game. He can't really take it to the hole. When you really guard him up, when you really put the pressure on him, he can't finish. He can't finish on that shit he was putting up.
Yeah, and the thing about Will Smith and his code switch is like he's added to the code switch lexicon, but not for us. So for instance, what had happened was, I would say Will Smith added that to the cultural lexicon.
100%.
Added that to the cultural lexicon as one of his bits. It's famous and it's funny. It's still always funny.
I used to do that shit constantly in fucking middle school. Constantly.
Right. Now, what Marlon explains and translates and defines very well for this audience for his special is that he wasn't doing that for us ever, and that Chris maybe never was doing it for us either. And so because they are that, and they've already planted their flag, he comes in to be like, all right, so now let me explain this shit from black people perspective. Like his entire shit, like, let me explain this shit from black people's perspective, and specifically a black nigga who knows them and has known them since they were teenagers and in their young 20s. So that shit,
he was doing that. He was doing that in special. He was like, this is what none of them niggas can front on me about.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, you know remember who my brother is? Like,
yeah.
remember I'm in that picture, I'm in the background of the picture with Biggie and Tupac together. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm really me.
Can't take it away.
Yeah, I
mean, really him. He's really him. And the one thing about the Chris Rock special that I found just really disappointing is that, and we talked about it a little bit earlier this week, where comedy it's a crazy and specific art form that demands that you stay present, both present in the cultural moment and the conversation and what's current, what audiences want and what they see and what they know and what they laugh at, what they don't laugh at, what makes them uncomfortable, what should make them uncomfortable, etc. You have to be very, very on the pulse and present in that way. But the other way you have to be present in comedy is you have to not start smelling your own shit. You have to actually really be present in yourself and like in who takes blame for what happens in your life. And if you get slapped, now this is not to excuse or even go against what you were saying earlier. Will Smith wilded out. We all know, as black people and as people, you wilded out, bro. Like there's no real justifiable reason for you to go on in public, national television, whether you was not on television or not, and go slap a motherfucker like that. It's like literally not something you do, right? But at the same time,
especially, and I'll say this,
especially on the black joke.
I'm not even going to say that there's not a joke. You say the wrong thing, then I smack the shit out you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not it.
That's not the one. But on the top of that, it's like, my dude, what you're saying, what it's really about for him, what's it really about for you? The internet has receipts. They see you clowning Jada for 20 years. What is that about? Like, you have to be able to identify, what is that about? Is it something personal to her? Is it something about women? Is it something about the wife-husband relationship they have? Is it something about how they've navigated their relationship in the public eye? Is it about you being divorced? What is it about with you, my dude, that you've been going so hard with those jokes on her for this amount of time? She hasn't even been relevant. She's not even been relevant. She's now, if you want to talk about us and them conversation in terms of who fucks with who the long way, etc., I would say that black people, I don't know now, but black people have fucked with Jada for a lot longer.
We did. I think we
did.
Until the Red Table Talks.
Then it was like, we're out.
It divided us. We weren't really divided about her. We thought we all liked her, and then it was like,
and then it was like, what the fuck is she doing? What is this on? Why is she doing?
It was murmurings before. There was already, because remember, there's always we always be knowing shit that white people be knowing. We be knowing before. We knew about Bill before. We knew about R before. We just did. It's the truth. We had a conversation about these things before it was a public conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, there was talk, but it was like whatever. It was essentially like gossip.
Yes. And I think part of the gossip was trying to capture the fact that whatever Jada be on is not some salt of the earth where she come from shit. It's some now I'm a public figure shit. Now I want to be famous shit, and I want to maintain what fame comes with. And that's some shit that plainly neither black nor white people can relate to. Like, neither black nor white people can relate to Jada Pinkett Smith being insistent on doing a talk show late in life after, maybe not the best acting career, having the same impact as, her famous husband. That has to be a part of it. Like, we're not going to fool ourselves into saying that she didn't want to have some measure of fame and recognition. She did. And part of that is because she felt like she sacrificed that in order to make him bigger. That starts to come out in the interviews. That starts to come out in the way they operated with each other publicly and privately. And that type of shit is not relatable. And it is also potentially really annoying because it's like, I don't want to know that shit about none of y'all niggas. And Chris comments on that shit. And I think that would have been richer ground for him. But the reason why I don't think he was able to approach it is that, like, he's not in the position to do that. He has had whack, messy divorce.
Yep.
And that is what I think is what's the you part of it, Chris, that he's not willing to go there with. I was like, yo, here, I don't know if his comedy ever went there. I think it was always more cultural and social commentary comedy. And when it got personal, it got worse. But I think he's got to go there with himself if he wants to get to any kind of level where we remember him as the thing he was that made him so big.
Chris is not deep from that angle.
Nah, he's not.
He's not deep from that angle. If I look at him throughout the entirety of his, it doesn't mean he's incapable of it, but it's just like, I'm not gonna. This is just a, like, because it's like, if you don't grow, so it's like, I can't remember, and it's seemingly so corny, but it's also like definitely the truth. It's just all about bringing things from the darkness to the light.
Yes.
And you can't, success is great. That means you brought, so if you were in poverty and you were able to transform that into monetary success, that's great. You brought some kind of from a dark space into, that's great. That does not eliminate other things.
Okay, here's what I want to understand with you, especially from the success point of view with Chris. How did the bit about his daughter land with you? What did you infer or see about Chris from that bit?
As close as he gets to being personal.
Yeah.
But it also, there was a gap in his ability to observe himself.
Right.
He didn't really observe himself very much. And his own morals, he just let, like, his own moral compass kind of just drives his action.
Overbears the entire situation.
Right. So basically what he says is, I acquiesced to my ex-wife because I didn't want to have a disagreement, but then behind her back, I did what I wanted to do anyway. And I think that by using Kevin Hart's bit about she's only going to find this out through me doing this joke bit, the same one he did in his last one, which was one of his best jokes. That was one of his absolute best jokes, that sequence and that piece. So he took Kevin's thing and tried to use that as what made that interesting, and it still really wasn't. It's just like but it ultimately ends up structurally a good joke to me. It still is a joke.
Here's what I would say. What you can do, and I think you're very good at this, like, I think you can do the comedy of spite. Like, you can say it's spiteful, but here's another area where, and I'll let you judge this for yourself, this is just what I think, that Marlon Wayans did the comedy of spite even better than that. So, for instance, Chris, it almost registers to me as like a footnote that he's like, yeah, I don't like the motherfuckers, about his kids, right? Like, I think it would have been a greater and a more Kevin Hart-like joke if he led with, I don't like the motherfuckers, and kept that through, because then it reveals him as a spiteful person. The comedy of spite that Chris is doing is, I'm pointing fingers everywhere else. I spite y'all because I'm not willing to even claim my part in this.
What he said was, I'm right, and it worked.
Yeah.
That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
By getting kicked out, she was able to adjust her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends up working. That's ultimately because of whatever good karma he actually has in life. That situation worked out. And because the situation worked out, his joke worked out. It's the only reason his joke.
Well, here's what I will challenge you on. The situation worked out for him. So if in fact that joke was the first time he dropped it on a live special, and he says that, and your daughter is a person, is a human being with her own type of experience, good luck with that working out after that point.
That's all I mean by worked out. I didn't mean I'm not a soothsayer, right? I mean literally the thing you were looking for to happen happened.
Yes.
If that had not have happened, you would not have a joke because there would not be anything funny structured because they would, and you would not have revealed this.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Like if his daughter was strung out, or and also good luck to him using those kinds of psychologically manipulative tactics with a person that you want to shape and mold, and she's been dealing with him her whole life. He's been dealing with her whole life. So I get that, but I think that like what it spoke to me about was the most compelling part of his special was family life, where he finally got personal.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that, he can't, like you said, face himself. He can't face his part in these things. And that's what makes me like, that's what checks me out on the beginning of like selective outrage. You practice selective. And I'm like, who does? Who practices selective outrage? Because you go from saying, now I'm all for the rights of marginalized people, blah blah blah, qualifiers, and then you talk about your outrage and how in the end you're actually the victim, Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he had enough awareness to joke on that, like now I'm gonna tell you why I'm the victim, and like really say it, I'd be in on that.
Well, he got smacked in the face. He had us. You had us. You could have said
anything. That was the perfect setup. That's the perfect setup. I got the shit slapped out of me.
And I don't think, and here's the thing.
But he's not a jester.
I don't think his jokes were unfunny. I think he had a whole bunch of real solid jokes. It's like,
he's not a jester. And one of the things that Marlon Wayans thrives from is like Marlon is a little bit more of a clown and a jester. So embarrassment, and he traffics in that. Embarrassment, humiliation, I'm putting it all on the line. That's my vulnerability. I'm going to perform my way through embarrassing faces and looks and situations. So does Kevin Hart, honestly. He's like, yo, I'm short and I'm small. Forget whatever ego you might see from me being a superstar and being competitive. I'm short and I'm small, and I see the world through the eyes of
his original, we remember, because we remember Kevin, his original identity was that. It's that like having to eat shit. Like, play tough and then have to eat shit in the scene, right? So
and it's like the chip on Kevin's shoulder that hasn't gone away, and in a good way, as in I'm still gonna come before you. Like, I know the joke here is that I'm short. Mm-hmm. Like, even when I'm making Doritos commercials with Shaq or a movie with The Rock, the joke is that I'm short and I'm small, and I'm not above being that to make you laugh. I want that to make you laugh because I'm also the cleverest motherfucker you're going to hear, and I can still do crowd work, and I can still structure a story, and I can still structure a punchline and a joke really fucking well. And I think what Chris came with was, as a clinician, as a joke technician, he's still going to be, all-timer. He's great. But I think like we've talked about before Kevin's special, is like, now you have the really tall, almost impossible task of making people relate to your life as a famous person. And that's hard because so few people are. And fame, the specific version of fame that exists now with social media and fucking infamy, it's like, now we have so much fame shoved in our fucking face. We don't even care. We don't want any more of it.
In fact, your fame is actually less identifiable than, because modern fame is different than your fame.
Yeah.
What's her name? D'Amelia or whatever the fuck?
Wait, who?
Harley D'Amelia, like these TikTok, like.
I literally
like you all are complaining about still having access to 90s level fame.
Yeah.
You
You're
were
right.
famous. You were famous about in the same time period as Michael Jackson. Shut the fuck up, bro. We just
And
kick
Michael Jordan.
and you know what I mean? It's like, yo, bro, we don't like the don't think you can come with any of that and talk to us. If
Yeah,
that is so important, if you can't talk to us without ridding yourself of any of that, then shut the fuck up.
yeah.
Because we don't like it's just so unrelatable. That shit is so unrelatable.
So now,
People don't
now
even young people don't even want that. They're like, what? They didn't grow up with it. They don't even know what you're talking about. You
because
sound
their fame
goofy.
is based on actual, either a facsimile of authenticity or authenticity because they're so close with the screen and the person is like literally came from nothing. But here's where I want to bring in the Ja Morant question and how young black famous people have to approach and deal with fame now and what that means for their ego and self-esteem and then what that means for like everyone else who's looking at it like, oh, you're famous, you shouldn't behave in this one way. And I want to get your thoughts on like, so what's your understanding of this Ja Morant situation?
I heard that Sean Kemp um
Shit.
did you
Yo.
so
Yo.
Sean Kemp was at the club. Oh, I mean, hold on, I meant Ja Morant. Or who anyway, okay. So okay, as long as with the 17-year-old, I guess let me start there, right?
Yeah.
At least I can go back to there and go in review of that situation. There was a 17-year-old that there was like a public basketball game, and it got to an altercation where the 17-year-old was talking about like going to get his gun to air the place out, right?
Yeah.
Like
And also, the 17-year-old, for context, is I think a top basketball player in the area, and is like so he's big. The nigga's big. He's at least big, and he checked the ball at him real hard. He checked the ball at Ja like you know how you do when
right,
you want to start a fight like on the
right,
court. That's
right,
how you want to check it at my head. All right, now we fight.
right. So he got two pieced up.
Yeah,
He got two pieces in a biscuit because he
yeah.
wanted to start a fight and he was claiming he was going to claim to shoot the to air the place out, right? Like
Also, when you 17 and I'm 23, nigga, we are peers. We are peers.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not fucking taking some exception because you're under the legal drinking age. You know what I mean? Like you are a 17 or you might be 6'4", 220. And I'm Ja Morant who's 6'2", 190.
You threw the ball at my head one, so like I'm entitled to respond. It's just a response. It's not even a you know what I mean? It's like I don't have to keep control there. I feel attacked, right? So to add on to that you were escalating it to claiming more, escalating the harm. Yeah, you got punched, you got hit you got knocked, and then you got handled.
Yeah.
Okay, boom.
So file that away. We can file that away. Also, this detail, I don't know if you knew this detail too. The 17-year-old's mother had a history, according to the Washington Post, of filing frivolous lawsuits. So, like, leave that where it is. It just sounds like you coming from a piece of shit family and you do piece of shit things to potentially work up conflicts with people who you may be able to get money from.
Also, you haven't been taught great impulse control.
Not at all.
Right? Okay. Now I'm trying to track the order of things.
So I think that's the first thing because that happened in the summer, but it was suppressed. It was like the Memphis police were like, yo, we're not going to pursue this. Charges were pressed. But I think the DA specifically was like, yo, we're not going to pursue this because of the history of the mother. That was in August, didn't hit the press because the DA was like, yo, this is nothing. Like, I'm throwing this away. This looks stupid.
Right. Okay. The next thing I'm fully aware of is the IG post, right? There's and isn't that after something though? There's already been
which IG though? So Remember, laser pointer happened.
There we go.
Laser pointer at the Indiana Pacers game in Indiana.
Right? That seems like a very opaque situation to me.
It is.
There's a Memphis car that seems to be following a car with Memphis players. That seems to be following a car with Pacers players.
Potentially. Or is it a bot? Or
I don't know who's pursuing who. There seems to be at some point that words were exchanged.
Yeah.
Or at least windows were down.
Yeah.
And that somebody in the Pacers car, they saw a laser pointer on somebody in the Pacers car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was creating the laser is not I don't remember anybody saying how it was produced, right? Like if they saw somebody.
And I think that's part of what the NBA investigated, which is like, what would cause that? We looked into that because if there's even the possibility, if it's the thing that you're insinuating it is, that's very serious. So we, as the NBA, we are a serious organization. The NBA is not unserious in any way. They are a serious organization. They're like, we will find out where that laser came from, and their investigation was inconclusive, as in we cannot conclude that it was a threatening thing that thing came from.
Okay. So the next thing I become aware of is there's a post of IG of Ja Morant on his IG in a club. Is this in Dallas?
In Denver. It's in Denver.
In Denver, excuse me. Yeah. It's in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
After a loss, right?
After a loss to the Denver Nuggets, yep.
And for a moment, you see him holding some kind of handgun.
Yes.
Now, I don't remember. The issue is that that gun was also seen somewhere in a previous city.
So what the issue is that I think what people are saying is in the 17-year-old situation, this is the gun that people are saying Ja threatened the kid with. And maybe even the kid in some official report has said it was this kind of gun. And now the South and for that matter, America ain't new to guns, right? So I don't think it's an issue of you have a gun. I don't think that's ever the issue in America. And the US, people have guns, especially men, we have guns, right? But I think what the issue becomes is the career and your choice of employment precludes you from having guns in certain places, precludes you from, even if you have a licensed firearm, traveling with it because the state's laws are all different about guns.
No, you actually are protected with interstate. This is why we have gun problems in America, actually.
Right.
You're protected with interstate travel.
You're protected, but you're not in the NBA.
Ja's fucked because if that's the same gun from Memphis, that means he got on a plane. He got on the NBA plane from Memphis to Denver with that gun. And that's the problem. That means he traveled with his gun on an NBA plane. And that's very much against league. That is what they use to kick out Gilbert Arenas. It's the same.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, and from what I understand, especially over the week that's happened, the NBA, they put feet to the ground on issues like this. So I don't know if you saw, but there was a story about Carmelo Anthony, a story that resurfaced about Carmelo Anthony via Mark Spears, really great Black NBA reporter. So Mark Spears, who usually reports on the Golden State Warriors and some other top teams and some other top players, he basically came out and said, like, hey, Ja could take Carmelo's example because Carmelo, we know he used to be mixed up in some shit, mixed up with some of the wrong people, etc. We'll get to this concept of being mixed up with the wrong people. But apparently David Stern called him into the NBA office around probably like 2009, 10. And he was like, yo, I know that you was at so-and-so house. And I know, and named first and last name the people he was hanging out with. He was like, yeah, I know you hang out with this person and that person. I know this is what their employment is. I know what this is what their record is / rap sheet. I know that y'all was over there on this night and you was hanging out with him and her. And it's because it's my job to know. We are giving you $100 million contracts. It's my job to know who you're with and who you're hanging out with. And that's to say you're a product. You are a product right now. I have and take some issue with them only being products, right? With them, with the public reaction and even some black people and black commentators' reactions being like, well, you should treat yourself like a product and make sure you're the best product. It's like, let's slow down on that rhetoric. Like, because where does that go, right?
It's also like, do you live in Memphis?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you live in Memphis?
Yeah.
He really still has to walk. He has to walk around. He doesn't get to walk around in plastic. He doesn't sit on a shelf.
No. And the crazy thing about this Ja situation, which makes me the wrong crowd thing, that like even Des Bryant tweeted at him like, yo, if your niggas is really your niggas, they'll be more invested in your career being successful than you are. They're not going to be looking out for their own interests. Like, watch who you keep around you. Watch who you keep around you. So many athletes have come out and said, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, Jalen Rose, Des Bryant, like, yo, I've been you. It's the people around you. I don't know if it's that simple with Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant might be a dickhead. I think there is a high chance, because the Allen Iverson comparison started to drop when these things were happening. I don't remember Allen Iverson waving guns at people.
All right, can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
There's two things. I said this when J. Cole had that lyric about Kodak. He's like, I wish he had more guidance or something like that. And I was like, I think Kodak got a lot of guidance, dog. Kodak is a dickhead, son.
Exactly.
Kodak is wise as shit. He was just choosing to be a dickhead at that point, yo. You couldn't tell Kodak shit. There was nothing you were going to tell that nigga. Right. At that point in his life, he's a general. What do you tell a general? Nothing. He's not going to hear nothing you got to say. You're not going to make no decision for him. So if Ja seems, I'm way far away, but I'm also a black man. I know. I seen niggas moving like you. It's easy. It's easy to read that. It's easy to read that, yo.
Yeah, you're a classic tale.
All the time on the street.
You're a classic tale.
You got something on you. You got something to prove. And look at the way he was holding. That's a nigga with something to prove, dog.
Yeah.
So 100%. This is okay. And here's to bring it home. Could you ever imagine LeBron James doing some shit like in this hemisphere? This is never gonna happen. Environment, the people around. You would have never had to have the conversation. It was
right.
Please.
And honestly, that becomes a stereotype and part of the pathology of black men too. Is when somebody is rich and famous via athletics.
It's the Jay-Z.
Yeah. It's like we somehow then like wash them clean of being fallible and being human, and that's a type of racism. Because I'm like, look, he should be subject to the same kind of like you said. We seen people who move like that, and we know what's going on, and we always will know. And regardless of the fact that he is a product, that he got a big Nike contract, that he's with Powerade now, that big companies are making statements now. Now you got statements. Niggas are making statements about shit you did. You know what I mean? Niggas are making statements about it. So he's in a tier of people that most of us just don't have the access to or will not be, right? But at the same time, like, even him being in that tier of people, he is still a person. He is still, like, J.R. Smith had his career moved differently than Seth Curry. His career moved differently. Now, those two players, no matter what you may say about them, had very similar backgrounds. J.R. Smith grew up in a New Jersey suburb. His dad was an athlete. He had access to prep schools, good examples, good education. J.R. Smith wanted to drink yak, smoke blunts, and fuck hoes and put it on Instagram. Like, that's what he wanted to do as a person. And you know what? Part of your personhood, your individual agency as a player and as a human is that you get to choose what life you want. You get to choose the things you want to represent. And you can't be infantilized just because others want you to live up to an example. So others want him to be the Ja Morant that, for whatever reason, is cozy in our hearts, and we love him, and he's the poster boy of. And look how small he is, but he jumps so high. We want him to be that. And you're going to see a lot of rhetoric, too, from black writers and black commentators, like I was saying, where it's like, oh, he's just a kid. He's just a young guy who – and look, just as much as I don't think we should demonize black men and put them into the category of monsters and career criminals, I don't think we should infantilize and make them into these innocent and virginal things, because that binary is what fucks us up. He's human. He's not part asshole making bad decisions, part really talented athlete who's excellent at something.
This is not the movie Baby Boy.
No.
Like, to your point, like, that's a movie. This is real life. He's choosing in this shit. There's no script.
Yep.
He's choosing in this shit. And
T. Morant is no Ving Rhames, I'll tell you that.
Okay, I want to get to, because I want to get to his parents. I definitely want to get to his parents. But this is what the fact that the NBA has even, and like you said, the NBA takes these things very seriously. The fact that it has taken them this long to investigate, these investigations are taking this long, and to come to a decision on something that is so central to your brand, your future brand, seems very odd to me for NBA behavior. Extremely odd. And I'll say this, right? It seems more on the spectrum of Karl Malone than even Gilbert Arenas. Like, oh, you were going to try to bury this, right? Maybe, is that what this was? You were going to just try to bury who he is.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
If you can make it not about
that is a great point.
It doesn't make any sense to me that, like, that brand,
they don't do that.
Get away with this. It makes no sense.
It makes sense when you think about what they did with Michael Jordan. It makes sense when you think about how the head of NBC, David Stern, Michael Jordan's agent, Falk, I think it was at the time, and Jordan had a sit down after the death of his father, and they was like, you're going away for a bit. You are in a major sports league, and you have a gambling problem. So they had to, and that's why the rhetoric that Ja even released in his statement, because now Statements is making statements, the rhetoric was like, I'm going to get the help I need and learn better tools to manage my overall well-being. And I don't doubt that he may be under mental distress. It is a stressful career to be a professional athlete. I just noticed it's very careful how he made that pivot from, I'm doing gang signs, fuck Shannon Sharp, niggas don't worry me, not trying to see that. He went from a lot of that and the bluster and the arrogance, which I didn't see from Iverson. I didn't see from Jalen Rose. I maybe saw a little bit of from Steven Jackson, but Steven Jackson was also hitting corner threes in the finals.
Right.
So it's like there's levels to it. And when his statement said my overall well-being and better resources to take care of myself, I was like, oh, this is a cover-up. This is a whitewashing of this situation.
He didn't write this. This is PR. This is a PR. This is the I need to go get help. I have a problem. So that I have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Give me space. Leave.
Right.
It just makes it private. Yeah. I need privacy. Yeah. Right. It's taking this out of the public. It's trying to take it out of the public.
Yes.
What's a good reason for you to no longer be able to invade my privacy? That's the tactic, right? Okay. Now for me, the interesting thing becomes, what's going on, T. Morant? Because you're getting in near fights with Shannon Sharp and then dapping him up, and then you're in the car when the laser thing is happening. And what's up, Mrs. Morant? Because somebody disrespects you at a Foot Locker or a Foot Action or some shit.
We at the mall. It's going down.
And you decide that you want to call your son,
your NBA player son,
who's in the prime of his career, that you want him to come.
Yeah. None of the people, and this is
Not the people he employs, and also
Right.
not the people he employs. You want to, instead of having the person who employs the people have one of the people he employs go to handle that. You want to compromise the thing that employs all the people. That makes some kind of sense to you.
What's wild about that, as you say it, is like, and he was willing to go do it.
Yeah, because this is to your point. So this is
LeBron's mom's be wild. You think LeBron's mom's ain't wild out and asked him to do some fucking wild out stupid shit in her name before, and he would have to be like, yeah, nah.
But that's to you. That's the Ja is a dentist. He's a dentist. He's not Jay-Z and Mary J. Blige and Chris Rock.
That's true.
He's the dentist on the block. He's just a regular. He was already famous. I mean, he was already good. His dad gave him the talent. He didn't have to develop character to survive. Talent alone, LeBron would not have survived on his talent. You know how many people? Ali Mo is like talented. 70% as talented as LeBron.
Well, you know what I mean? Look. What if Lamar Odom had the brain of, or the mental makeup of like Jason Tatum, or some other person, or Tim Duncan? Like would Lamar Odom have been one of the best players?
He would have Robbie rings. He would have Rob.
He would have been one of the best players we've ever seen.
So Ja is a result. He's allowing himself to continue to be the result of what seems to be not good influences in his immediate environment. Not even the people around. No, this is the makeup you were given. Your dad is not setting a good example. Your mother is involving you in petty things, right?
Yeah.
So I've made this point before. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but the whole PNB Rock thing, right? Where he, right, that the
guy who robbed him,
right? They said that's a young man. He's a teenager, but his dad is in the parking lot waiting for him, driving the getaway car. Right. So what chance does that kid have? Yes, he could. That kid could have also made different decisions. We always know that. It's always possible.
Right,
but he's set up to fail.
Yeah.
His makeup is fail here. That's the format, right?
Yeah.
We're giving him talent, strong, but a lot of character-wise, it seems like a failing format.
Yeah. And also, I mean, let's not, again, the other way I don't want to infantilize these guys is like, hey, there are smart athletes, and there are athletes who aren't so smart, who aren't so discerning, and who may fit a stereotype of, I've been coddled my whole life in the sports world, and therefore I never had to challenge myself mentally. I never had to be present and aware about what the world actually is. And so I don't have that impetus internally to go figure myself out and figure out who I am. And so I end up one of the worst types of people, which is like lots of power, lots of entitlement, and very little discriminating judgment. And I think with Morant, like, and why I hate the Iverson comparison is, from every single tale I've heard about Allen Iverson, even though I've known him and seen him and or secondhand heard stories about him partying, smoking weed, blunts, late to practice because he was hungover. I've heard all of those stories, right? But I've also heard that he was generous with people.
He's a good person.
He stayed late to give autographs. That he was buying out the bar and the club for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like he was not the one with the firearm. My man's is rolling with that. But I'm not the one waving at people.
Because you remember what happened to him in high school?
Yeah.
He already handled that. He already know about that, and he's not trying to fuck it up. He doesn't. I don't got nothing to prove besides what I have to prove. I want to prove in the NBA.
Yes.
What Ja wants to prove, he wants to prove in walking around in the street.
And look
in jail. It looked like
dog. And like Stephon Marbury existed. We had people who were, maybe they weren't the nicest guys. Maybe they didn't make the best decisions for themselves as it relates to their crew and their circle and shit. We had Stephon Marbury's out here. And we have to stop treating Ja as if he's both the most valuable adult grown commodity because he's a product, and also a child because we don't like the way he's acting as a product. It's like no, he's both things. He's a really valuable athlete in the scope of whatever that fucking means, and he seems to be someone who is strong and wrong. Like he has a strong and wrong element to him that has shown up in the playoffs last year. I saw it and I was like, oh, I don't fuck with your team. Like they started to act in a way where I was like, oh, I don't fuck with y'all.
I don't like them niggas. I don't like them niggas. I don't like Dylan Brooks. I don't like
Dylan Brooks. I don't like Ja Morant and how he behaves. I don't think Desmond Bain like Steven Adams. But I don't really like Steven Adams. I didn't really ever like him. And all that that stuff.
I don't give a fuck, bro. Whatever.
Yeah, whenever I hear one of those I might accents, I'm like, you're a little racist. Like I know because of how Australia is, you're at least a little racist. You know what I mean? Like I know you play in the NBA and like your boys, but I don't want to talk about any of your political beliefs on immigration. Like not one.
When in the Olympic Village, if you run up behind you in the wrong conversation, you saying something I don't like. You saying something I don't like. You know what I'm saying? So,
exactly. Like so when that's the composite image of the team, and it seemed like again central to some of these like taunting behaviors toward the other team, some of that like presumptuous and precocious, like I'm mocking you before I even win the playoff series type of behavior. I'm not scared of the Warriors in the West. We don't have anyone to fear in the West. When those things start to pile up, and it was coming from Ja Morant's mouth, and then add that to it's free to find out how these hollows feel on social media. Now, what hollows? What like that? Where are we posting that? Why are we posting that?
Is the fact that that's real that he wrote. Okay, because here's the thing. Again, it's like the Will Smith thing. Take it out of the context of being a nigga in the NBA. That's Twitter fingers, yo. Don't be doing that. You tweeting about hollows? That's bitch ass shit. In fact, that's
now okay. Now
you need a shot.
I'm gonna be fair to one part of it, and claim my old man in this. I'm an old man, right? So I understand that now. KD showed me that fame is different because of social media. You can't just if Twitter is a public conversation and these platforms are public and you come into your comments as whoever, Joe Schmo from Idaho, but it's public and I'm a person. And if I want to be able to respond to you, I can, right? And so that's part of their ethic, which is the same reason why Amanda Sternberg got into this conflict with a journalist months ago where the journalist wrote a bad review and then she came to the journalist DMs like, oh, like, you're actually just attracted to me because in your review, all you talk about was my breast. And then that became this thing where Amanda Sternberg basically sicked all of her fans on this journalist. Mm-hmm. Now, the journalist was stupid and said and did stupid things both before and after that moment. But the dangerous part of engaging social media as if it isn't something where you could get got, you could get owned, you could get clowned, you could get swarmed, you could get bullied. Right. So that's just a reality of it. And the way these guys handle it, I'm like, OK, I see that's probably your last line of defense or, one of your important lines of defense when people are just coming straight at you. Like people say the easy thing like, oh, be like LeBron and just don't go on social media. Playoff mode activated. Now my phone is off. Like, yeah. But if I grew up with social media in high school, I don't know how true it would be that I would be able to do that. Just say, oh, yeah, now social media doesn't exist. It's like a part of the world. It's part of how we keep social connections. He was doing that part as at least interacting with social media and what I think was faithful to the time that we're in. But what he said is where he lost it.
It's weak. It's not responding.
Yeah.
It's a weak response.
Yeah.
Sounding like you're going to do something isn't doing it. It's the weakest. You know what I mean? It's very see-through on Twitter. When somebody's looking at it on the phone, you look weak. You just don't look strong by saying, hollow tips. It's like you're trying to prove something. That's like you would never see. Do gangster niggas do that, Drew?
No.
Right?
They
Do
just
gangster niggas do that? No.
Yeah.
So it's like you prove you're not what you're talking. You literally are showing us.
Well, here's the thing: gangsters who die do.
And this is what, again. So this is what I mean. But this is we know what you as real niggas know what you look like. It's like, okay, this is bit you're okay, my nigga, whatever. But if that's what you got, cool.
Now, okay, this is where the nuance from this discussion actually flips into a really great discussion about the NBA that I wanted to run by you. Shout out to Jenkins and Jones podcast. Dragonfly Jones and LeJethro Jenkins have a dope podcast. I just started checking them out on YouTube. Super, super funny on Twitter. We noticed not easy to translate that into podcasting, but they do, and they're very level-headed and they're dope. And I hope they fill the spot that DiZamiro very tragically conceded. But they were talking about this on their podcast, and I want to get your take on it. Did you see any of the discourse about Kendrick Perkins implying that MVP voting has racial bias?
No, but duh. Like how? I mean, this is the second time we're doing this. Is a revisiting of when Shaq and Kobe got. When Steve Nash got what 3?
He got 2 in a row. He got 2 in a row.
He got 2, and then Dirk got what? Did he get 2 or did he just
get one? He got one.
He just got one. But those were not years those were not Shaq's and Kobe's. It just weren't. Right. Now, one of those years, the year Nash got it was the sodomy year. There was no way Kobe could get it. He was gonna. It was his, but there was no way he could get it. So he just said, "Here."
Yeah.
But again, this is the second time we've done this conversation, and now with Joker, it's like.
And I'm gonna give Joker his flowers as we get.
The kid is great.
I'm gonna give him his flowers too. I'm gonna give him
3 in a row. So we're gonna give him 3 in a row.
Right. That's the case. So here's the crazy thing, right? So the discourse started when Kendrick Perkins insinuated that, and then JJ Redick became the JJ Redick we knew from Duke, where people were chanting "Fuck you, JJ." he became that JJ Redick, and he has been such a great contribution overall to the sports conversation, right?
To the NBA,
to the NBA.
NBA player. I
hated him in Orlando. Hated him in Orlando, dog. Dismissed that he could get to the point that he got to. Dismissed it,
and he was always fine. Always
so he reverted to like all lives matter type shit, where he was just like, well, how could you? You're inserting a narrative that does not exist in reality. You said 80% of MVP voters are white. The number's 68%. So pump your brakes a bit, JJ. 68%.
A majority. Strong majority.
Strong majority. And then the other part of it is like ESPN did a straw poll a few weeks ago, and 90% of those polled said that they were planning to vote for Joker for MVP. It is one of the closest MVP races I have ever seen. Not only the closest MVP race is a close season, it's a close MVP race between him.
I have no idea. Sure, it's him. I had no idea. What? What are you talking about?
How could you?
So I guess Joel Embiid has not been out there this year.
How could you be? I guess Joel Embiid hasn't hit 2 game winners in his life yet.
This is the shit I mean. It's like, oh, okay. So because he has those parlor trick triple doubles, which are amazing. I'm not going to take them away like they're not real. But in the context of what your team needs, the year Joel is having this year, we're going to ignore. We're going to take it from him. So that he has to some other year again before. It's like
none of that's guaranteed.
None of that. Is that what Dirk had? Did Dirk have to wait? But Dirk didn't have to wait. When it was even possible, he got it. When it was the year that he was doing it, he got it.
How about this? Even by the unofficial standard that people use for MVP, which is best player on best team, Jokic, who's now won it twice, was the 6th seed when he won the second one. And they used that shifting argument of, well, it's the 6th seed, but look who he had around him. Look who he brought to Jamal Murray was injured. He got them to a 6th seed. He got them to it. So it was him, I believe Russell Westbrook, and it was either Pete Maravich or something else, which is interesting because there's another white player. But it was are the 3 who have had lower than 2 seed to win MVP, right? And Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double. Jokic is probably going to average a triple-double, right? Which we kind of see what the triple-double is. I think it was good for you to say it's a parlor trick because at this point in the game, it kind of is, right? Like a lot of guys can shoot. This game is higher scoring. So the assist stat may be inflated at this point, right? The assist stat might be inflated. And also the way that people record assists in different arenas is different. Right? Mm-hmm. Like I remember what assists used to be when we was growing up playing ball. It was a pass that led directly to a shot. It wasn't a pass, then I dribbled it, and then I held it, and then I shot it. That was not an assist.
If they have to change what they were doing in any way,
that was not an assist. I was even when I was in high school and filled in and recorded stats for the varsity games, and I could not record an assist if someone caught it and dribbled twice.
That's not even changing play. That's just twice. That's just 2 dribbles.
It's just the flow of the play. It's like, hey, this led to you scoring. There was no other way you're scoring than getting this pass. That is the way I understood an assist. So that now I'm gonna give him his flowers here too. There was a YouTube on House of Highlights that was the title was, and this is a wild out title, and I'll admit that this is why I clicked it. Is Jokic the greatest passer in basketball, right? Not just the greatest passing big man, but the greatest passer. And we know LeBron James is like clearly hands down the greatest passer right now. We know Magic was one of the greatest passers. We know Jason Kidd was one of the greatest passers. Bob Cousy ass niggas with one hand. They were good passers too. I'm not going to act like just because they were in another era, Pistol Pete was a great passer. I've seen those tapes. What I've seen is like, no, you could come out here and ball. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to dismiss anyone else in making this argument about Jokic, but I'm going to say that he's at least a top 3 passer in NBA history. Like I've watched the games. I've seen what makes good passing, which is an instinct for what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. And he has just as good of that as anyone I've ever seen, as Vlade, as LeBron, as Kidd, as he has just as much as Kevin Love with the touchdown. I'm gonna throw it full court. All of those, he has every single tool and every single pass that great passers have. So on that merit, I will give it to him. I'll give it to him on that.
Let me see one thing.
Go ahead.
Where's he in scoring?
He's at 24 points a game, which is lower than Luka, which is lower than Giannis, which is lower than Embiid. He's lower than them in scoring. And they are all, Giannis and Embiid, top rebounders. So it's not like he's getting double-digit rebounds and they're not. They're all, Giannis and Embiid specifically, are on some 30 and 12 shit. They're like, word, what does it take? Does it take 30 and 12? That's what Giannis said. It takes 30 and 12 to win my third. I'm going to say this.
He's at 20 on the scoring list. That's not, now the numbers matter. He's at 20. He's at 20.
20.
Siakam is above him. Siakam is above him.
Nigga.
Anthony Edwards is above him.
Nigga.
Zach LaVine is above him.
Nigga.
Julius Randle is above him.
Nigga.
D'Andrew Fox is above him. Kyrie Irving is way above him. You know, Dame Lillard is above him. Luka's above him. Joel is the scoring leader. No, I'm just sorry. No, because you got a lot of assists and rebounds again. Not again when we gave it to you last year in the 6. Not again.
Now right. And here's the other thing. I'm glad you brought up scoring. Here's the other thing with Jokic. And again, right now, my personal bias is that he should win it this year, but that he shouldn't have won it last year. Last year, it was either Giannis or Embiid, right? And I think that they inflated it, and the mostly white voters inflated it, and he got away. He stole one, right? But this year, my argument is switching on his deservedness because of how much racial bias is being undercounted. Like I thought racial bias was at play, but I was like, you know what? It's such an outlier in NBA history that a white player is even in the conversation that I'm gonna allow that in this algorithm. It is a factor, but it may not be the strongest factor when he's doing what he's doing on the court. I was like, I'm gonna allow this to factor, but now white people, y'all getting out of hand, bro. Y'all are getting out of hand. This is an out of hand, and I'm gonna pull up the MVP award winners in the NBA so that you can know how many of
Larry Bird,
mm-hmm.
Will Chamberlain,
mm-hmm.
Bill Russell, the only people to get 3 consecutive.
Three. How many of those averaged under 20 a game? It was only Bill Russell. Only Bill Russell.
That's a completely different basketball. That's a complete.
And I'm willing to bet he was averaging close to 20 rebounds.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet.
So this is what I mean. This is absurd. Because if you want to be real, I remember when Larry got those 3. Larry shouldn't have got those 3 in a row.
Yeah, because
not those 3 in a row. There was one that was I'm pretty sure it was Isaiah's.
There was one that should have been Isaiah's, and if one was 87, let me look at 87.
I mean, because we could look at I remember that's exactly when I started watching basketball. I remember my dad's I remember these conversations. Like, this is why I got into the game. So it's like, even that is now Larry. Come on, you know. And let's see. If we look at it, what's
the main thing I was going to check was that the year that Jordan broke his leg? No, Jordan broke his leg in the second year, which was 86. Magic or Mike could have won it the year that Larry won it.
See what I'm saying?
Magic or Mike, because the assist leader was Magic in 85, 86, and in 86, 87. Jordan, let's see when he led the league in scoring. Let me see. Scoring title. Is the scoring title on here? Let me look at when Michael Jordan led the league in scoring. All right, so Michael Jordan led the league in scoring in 87 and 88 at 35 a game. 86, 87, you know how much Michael Jordan, this is when Larry Bird won the MVP. You know how much Michael Jordan averaged in playing in 82 full games? 37 points a game, the year that Larry Bird won the MVP.
See what I'm saying?
He was at 37 points a game.
You see what I'm saying?
Now Chicago at that time wasn't at the win level.
Right. But I'm trying to see who actually won the 84 the Celtics took it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. '85 is the Lakers.
Yeah.
He won it. 86.
Can you believe there were only, aside from the Wizards years, which we won't count, there were only 3 seasons of Michael Jordan playing basketball where he didn't win the scoring title?
That's insane. Oh. That's another difference that people don't recognize in
He was a standard bearer,
yo. He was so much more dominant than the people he was playing against. It wasn't the same. It's like people said this. I forget who. I was watching something and somebody said this recently, where in sports, usually what happens is it was this thing about curling. It's called Losers, I forget what it was, but it was about curling. And this guy basically says that in all sports, what you find out is that for most of the time, people have been playing the sport wrong. And then one person comes in and plays the sport right. And everybody goes, what? Hold on. You can do that, and it's like that happened. It happened first with Bill Russell, right? Bill did it in one way with the defense, and then Wilt did it with the scoring and dunking. He's like, no, I'm about to dunk. No, I'm gonna be dunking. And then Michael did it again, where he was like, "Oh, y'all are jumping straight up. Why are y'all jumping in straight lines? Why are you doing that? That's stupid."
He's like, yo, even in track, they don't jump like that.
Like
it's track.
Like, no, I'm just gonna make more complicated shapes in the air.
Yo,
everybody was like, "Oh shit, you could do that?"
Hold on. Here's the crazy shit. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. All right. So I said, who are the NBA MVPs who averaged under 20 a game? I mentioned Bill Russell. I think he won it four times, I believe. Let me take a look. NBA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, averaging under 20 a game, mostly like 16 or 18 points a game, right? Now, let me share my screen so you see who the other ones are who actually won it, who won it at all under 20 points a game. This is really interesting when you think about what we're saying here about how white people need to perform in order to win ultimately, like the ultimate win. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Bill
Walton
and Steve Nash
with 15, with 6. The closest you can get to going over to 16 points. Oh, basically 15 points a fucking game.
So there's one black person who did that, which is Wes Unseld. And he had 18 rebounds a game. So it's almost as if his scoring and his rebounding were reversed, right? Like his impact was his scoring. And then when you look at, they didn't record blocks during that era, but he made defensive.
I'm interested.
He made defensive impact, right? Bill Walton, right? He was at 18 and 13. Steve Nash was at 15 and 11 and a half assists, and then 18 and 10 and a half assists. Do you see the rebounding numbers that Bill Russell and Wes Unseld were putting up?
It's unbelievable.
It's craziness. Right? And what they're saying to us is that is the only way that we can win doing under the scoring amount, is that if you make up for it and be excellent somewhere else. But white people, they just have to make us feel good. I guess that's just to like make, and Jokic's game, dog, it makes me feel good. If I was out on the playground, I was playing with Jokic, it would be fun. Just like Steve Nash, it would be fun as hell. Playing with Larry Bird on the playground, you know you're gonna catch one and be like, oh, we run.
If you give it to him, he's splashing. When you hit them corners, y'all winning that game.
Listen, you know who would not be fun to play with on the playground? Michael Jordan.
And Kobe Bryant.
And that does not.
Let me be going, yo.
You know who would not be fun to play with on the playground? Bill Russell. You think you get anything off on Bill Russell trying to take that weak shit inside? You trying to drop a floater?
Nah, he's eating everything.
And he's catching it and going on the fast break. He's catching it in the air and going on the fast break. But what are we really saying?
Yo, here's the thing. Because I have no fun. I like Jokic. And here's the thing. Here's what sucks. I like Jokic. I like his game.
I love his game.
But don't do this. But see, because when
because hey, you know what they don't do for us? They don't do that for us. They don't say, hey, Kobe had a fucking personal indiscretion, and that is not something we should use to disqualify him. They do not do that for us.
Better yet, or where's just the the point is Clyde Drexler would have had no shot at being MVP. And he's at the same kind of talent level that Joker is in the pool.
In
the grand scheme pool.
Right.
And it would have never
Arvydas Sabonis, whose son is in the NBA now, who came to the NBA after a long and storied career, who was a great passer, who is definitely at that like 15 and a half points, 10 assists level, he could be there, 9 assists. You're telling me Arvydas Sabonis was going to win an MVP in Shaq's NBA? Is that what you're telling me now?
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And now they force a black fan and commentator's hands. They force me.
Right, now I have to not like you. And I'm like, nah, because I'm not riding with that. I'm not getting, no, that's bullshit. It's bullshit.
What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with the fact that in order to be at your level of scoring, Bill Russell had to be averaging 25 rebounds?
It's this goofy shit. It's like why I'm mad when 50 Cent wants to say goofy ass shit like Eminem has had a more of an impact on hip hop than Jay-Z, because it's like you're being such a facetious little bitch when you do that, right? Oh, so you want to do you okay? If you're gonna do that, then you know what you also should do? Just explain racism in the record industry. All you're explaining is racism in the record industry, not culture, not his effect on.
50 Cent used racial and racist stereotypes to advance himself, and he fits those stereotypes. So it's in his absolute interest to continue to defend how racism manifests, because racism is something that he used in his journey. He was like, "Oh, that's what they think of me. I will be that."
It's solid. It keeps his blow pure.
Yeah.
He reminds us that he's really black and Eminem's really white, but they're both really great, right? It's like we're equals. It's like I'm real blackness, he's real whiteness, Jay-Z's light skin. That's what he's really basically saying.
That is definitely what he's saying. And the other thing I would say that fuck Chris Rock for is we are. The way dark skin and light skin and brown skin jokes get made between black people, you forfeit that as Chris Rock when you start making jokes to white people. When you start letting white people say nigger and shit like that, and you're making jokes to them, and I don't want to be fighting in front of y'all. When you start doing that, you don't get to make the he's black as this jokes anymore. You give that up. So sit that shit down right now.
We don't really want to hear. They don't. And here's the thing, I understand that one joke in particular. I do. Like I get, because of what there's a nuance. I'm a comedian. There's a facsimile, right? Chris's joke is that, well, there's black people and there's niggas, right? That's the whole heart of the joke that they're talking about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The meaning there is because there are black people and there are ignorant people. Mm-hmm. Every race has ignorant people.
Right.
What that actually means is that Louis is more of an ignorant white person than Chris is an ignorant black person.
Right.
That's what it means. Right. They have a personal. Louis C.K. is the head writer of the Chris Rock show, right? So they have they know each other really, but my personal ability to understand that has nothing to do with it. It's still.
Look, I understand it too, but the way you explained it is perfect, which is that, listen, Chris is not the niggas of the nigga spectrum he's talking about. So you don't get to talk about niggas like that.
This is one of my central points about, we talk about who gets to talk about nigger. Well, here's the thing is, and it's like, it's not fair because black people get to talk. Actually, do black people get to talk about nigger? Do we? Because in this case, no, Chris doesn't. It's all contextual. It's always contextual. You say it and then you find out if niggas is going to check you.
Exactly.
You say it and you might get punched in your motherfucking mouth.
Exactly.
Just that simple.
That's why we started with the question. Do black people fuck with you? Do they fuck with you the long way? Do they fuck with you? So for instance, on Undisputed the other day, Shannon Sharp was just talking, he was having a conversation, and he said, "What the fuck?" randomly. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm cursing," like caught himself, right? And if Shannon Sharp had didn't be like, "Man, these niggas," And it was like, oh shit, if he did that on television and caught himself, niggas all over the world would have been like, you good, bro. Like, we understand. Like, that code switching shit is hard. That code switching shit is hard. And sometimes we lose ourselves. And niggas all over the world would have been like that for Shannon Sharpe, right? Because we have that room with him. We fucks with him the long way. If Chris Rock in that same discussion with Seinfeld and Louis C.K. and Ricky Gervais flying off the handle using the shit, if Ricky Gervais, my nigga, come on, that was wild. Niggas got a British accent, dog, and you letting them say it? Like, they don't get to say that.
They're the reason that word exists.
They're the reasons.
They start the whole ball.
So if Chris had been flying off the handle, and he did fly off the handle using nigger in that conversation, it's like, yo, now you have a responsibility that you've abused.
And here's the reality. I understand how how it happened in conversation. What I don't understand is how he didn't understand that like, I'll keep it a buck. If that's me, that shit ain't good. Nah, we add that. You want to edit that shit out? You editing that shit out. I may have been being a Hollywood.
He cares more about his relationships with those dudes than he does.
He thought it was gonna be fine. He thought it was some white shit. He was gonna be fine. And I'm like, nah. I might have been. Listen, if I wanted to be a Hollywood ass nigga, and in the conversation I didn't want to smack Ricky Gervais in his mouth because I'm worried about my chat. Cool, but that's not no. When that shit no, I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it. I just don't need to be an advocate for it on TV either. Whatever. But you're not gonna air this shit.
Yeah.
He's too comfy cozy, man. The nigga's comfy.
My man, not even for the podcast. Watch Marlon Wayans special.
Oh, I'm about to do that.
I know you. I already know, bro. Like when I say I'm now not only, and I know I'm a prisoner of the moment. Not only I'm going to say very easily this is Marlon Wayans' best special. I'm going to say it creeps into the honorable mentions of best comedy specials. It creeps into.
So he might have a low hanging classic.
Man.
He might have a
man. In the same way that Mike Epps and some of the people who aren't like pure comedian joke tellers but have great performances, he's in that category now.
Excellent. I'm gonna check it out.
Yo, my brother.
Another great conversation, man.
Great cast. Thank you for getting at me. We put another one in the bank. I'll definitely holler at you.
Let's do it.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Peace.
Peace.